I've never been seasick that I've known of, right? I would go fishing, go out all the time out here, like go out to the 5 Mile or whatever, just fish. Nothing. Freaking Tahiti 3 years ago, Haviki Nui.
Yeah.
I was sitting on that catamaran, like one of those 50-foot cats, and like I'm just like watching. We're all talking story, and I'm like, oh, I feel like, brah. And I was like, then all of a sudden, everything was like, I was like, oh, bro.
And once you start to think about it, it's worse.
So I had to like turn it off, and I was like, okay, guys, and they're like, don't lie down, don't lie down. And I was like, I don't get seasick, but I don't know what's going on. Like, freaking out. It was crazy, bro. It was crazy. It was good fun though.
Oh.
So I just drank.
That's been my medicine.
So
like, hey, how do you balance out the nausea?
Like, oh, shots.
Introduce some dizziness.
Yeah, shots. Let's go. Yeah.
Real Hawaii talk. We're sitting outside at Kailua Beach and in the Kaioni Canoe Club Halau area, and I'm sitting with my guest Micah Kalama. It's been a while. We've been talking about sitting down and talking in front of the camera, and we must have said yes, let's do this 4 or 5 times already. And so maybe this is like 5 or 6 and finally made it happen. So this is us talking story, and we're going to talk about paddling and about life and about Hawaii and all the things incorporated in that. So here you go. Oh,
Where to start, huh?
Yeah. Ooh, long time coming for this.
Long time. Yeah, I'd give it about 8 or 9 times, but
yeah.
we definitely tried.
Every time I see you, it's like, what? You ready?
Yeah.
Ready? Shoot.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, shucks, something comes in the way.
Right.
But, you know, and I think that's what's so interesting is we're both so busy.
Right.
Now, I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to talk about you. Okay, so we're going to introduce you. Let's start a little bit when you were younger. Where did you grow up? And kind of what brought you to this, you know, fast forward a little bit to this point in time.
So I was born and raised in Waimanalo, Hawaii. I mean, I've only known mostly the east side of Oahu for all my childhood, you know, so Waimanalo, Kailua, Kaneohe, and then, you know, just growing up as a kid, I grew up on like a farm ranch style, and I was super fortunate to have that opportunity. I mean, big family, two older sisters, a twin brother, and then a younger brother, mom and dad. So basically everything on the east side. And then kind of going through my childhood was a lot of sports, a lot of animals, a lot of everything, a lot of life. And then like this is when I grew up, right here in this, right here, the canal.
This is your spot, yeah?
Yeah, no, you know, I mean, I was down here all the time. Mostly, actually, on the other side, I remember mostly growing up, like, off the bridge, and this used to be a lot fuller. Like, this always used to be full, like, to the ocean, everything connected, you know? So growing up as a kid, I mean, this was it. Hanging out with my brother and, you know, causing a ruckus, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of the local country lifestyle that you've been blessed with.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I feel like that's kind of the story, like Big Island, you get that. The outer islands, you get more of that. You don't really get that on Oahu.
No, that's why I think I'm so fortunate, because, I grew up with horses, cows, ducks, pigs, roosters, you know.
I grew up with some donkeys.
Yeah, I think we all have. But it's okay. We need those too, right?
Yeah.
We need those too.
Noah's Ark and all.
Yeah, it helps us learn a little bit about people and how we deal with things. But no, I was super fortunate, and I think you're right. Not too many people get that lifestyle, and I was, blessed, you know.
Yeah. So country, and you're a waterman.
I would say so. I would say I'm a waterman. I would say always been around the water, you know, whether it's with my parents, family, things like that, whether it's paddling, going fishing, go to the beach just to go swim, bodyboard, things like that. But I was actually more of a land person as a kid, only because we did a lot of sports. My parents got me and my brother and sisters into like sports. Sports, I think, was a good form of discipline and learning, but it was a lot of fun, you know. All of my good friends that you grow up as kids, I think it's interesting because I mean, all my friends played multiple sports. We
Yeah.
all went from basketball to baseball to soccer to football. And nowadays it's like one sport, right? Like, I feel like kids are just one sport, and that's great. But I don't know. Back then, all my friends, we all played everything, right?
I think it kept everybody versatile, but it also kept everybody busy.
True.
Yeah, because the more time you have on your hands, the more time you get to get in trouble as a kid.
Yeah. There's two of us now. Don't forget. Yeah. But,
Double the trouble.
Double trouble. I mean, but yeah, I think I was more of the, definitely on land, doing a lot of the sports activities, and played in all the local activities, whether it's KBA, PAL, just Windward Tigers football. I grew up playing that since I was, 9 years old or something, 10 years old. Actually, probably 8 years old. I don't know. Long
So
time ago.
what was your favorite land sport then?
Oh, football. Yeah, football for sure. I think football was something that I think I learned a lot from football. Me and my brother were never the biggest kids, but we learned to. And on top of that, we was like howlier kids, right? Blonde hair, blue eyes. As born blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah.
Eventually grow up, right? Now you get like the hazel green eyes, blue eyes every so often, and brown hair. It's weird. You go changes.
Yeah.
But grew up more on that local mentality, and grew up just scrappy kids. Like never really always had to kind of prove yourself. Being smaller.
Yeah.
But then we did. Obviously, I think there's been good stories on that side.
I would imagine there's probably something to be said about having a twin in that too. Like, I got you back.
Yeah.
You guys are in it together.
Yeah.
So you mess with one of us, you mess with both of us.
And that was not a good thing for most of those people.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, I mean, you guys may have been smaller, but quantity.
There's two of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, definitely had really good childhood. A lot of success in all the sports we played. And it was really, because my parents, they put so much effort into, just giving us the best childhood that they could give us, and it was great. Like we got, I wouldn't say we got everything, given to us or anything. That we definitely worked hard for it. We didn't have much, didn't grow up with much money or anything like that, but just had a rich lifestyle.
Yeah.
Really good upbringing. So yeah.
I think the richness can also be like converted currency to love and the discipline.
Oh, there was definitely hard love. And discipline,
but I mean,
Yeah,
that's
right.
to ensure that you don't have kids that grow up to be assholes.
Yeah, true.
Right?
100%.
So if you didn't face those challenges, or if they weren't so strict on you and let you run amok, what kind of man would you be today?
Yeah, I mean, I was super fortunate. Like you said, they definitely, everything was, centered around being disciplined and taking care of people. I mean, we didn't party much as kids. Like, we weren't really allowed to just go out with anyone, or we would always be sitting around all the uncles and aunties, listening to all the stories. We weren't running around trying to chase everybody and play tag. We were like the two kids sitting there talking with all the uncles, aunties, and just listening to all the stories. And I think we were super lucky. We didn't realize what we were getting being brought up like that. And learning to just be super respectful to everyone around us. Like, go say hi to every single auntie, uncle around you, get to know them. And even now, like, as they all get older and we get older, I mean, some of them are not here anymore, right? So the ideas that we learned from people, or the experiences we got, is because we were around them.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids miss that, I think. I don't think they get that. So my parents allowed us to get to know aunties and uncles on a whole nother level. I mean,
before they were gone and you couldn't tap into that knowledge.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's the different disciplines that we learned as kids. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That's pretty awesome. So, I mean, we met right over here.
Yeah.
Like right over here. Later on, we'll show you guys. It's Kailua Beach Park parking lot. It's not the greatest. This is the more beautiful side, so we're giving you guys the good view. But I started paddling for Kailua. He paddles for Kione Canoe Club. The two clubs share a halau, so we're basically roommates. And just from seeing each other in the parking lot and talking story, that's how we met. And so now we moved from your childhood to paddling.
Yep.
And paddling is a water sport, but that's not your first love.
No,
right?
Not in the water.
Not in the water. So tell me about this, because
Yeah.
I have the same love. I wasn't on the same level, but same love.
No, I've always, ocean is everything. I mean, I think every Sunday, I think without fail, we would always end up at the beach.
Yeah.
My dad would always take me and my brothers to the beach. You know, started off Sherwoods like everybody else, Sherwoods, Bellows, wherever, and spent a lot of Sundays all morning. Like, and it was funny because I would always get like, you know, they always would be like, oh, it was always so cold, you just wanted to go home, right? And it's funny when I think about it, because probably we probably were complaining, not knowing that we were. But I love the ocean, and I fell in love with bodyboarding. Bodyboarding was just like everything to me. Like, I don't know, it was something about being on a bodyboard allowed me to do all the different types of styles, whether it's prone, drop knee, stand up. But yeah, bodyboarding. So that was my first true water sport passion. For sure. Paddling was built into the bloodline.
The family,
right? The family bloodline style, and it was a generated understanding of really what was in my blood, right?
Yeah.
And so, long story short, great grandpa, dad's brother, right? My uncles, all canoe builders, all in the paddling world. I mean, pretty much founding fathers in canoe racing comes from my line of, you know, family. And but really, just being in the ocean, for sure, it doesn't matter. And then, you know, bodyboarding, but diving, fishing, you know, and I did. I competed on the local circuit all the time, like, and I did it actually a little bit later, more like I was 20 when I came back, 21 for college, and then I was just full on. Just once I hurt my knee, I think. Because I knew my collegiate sports life was coming to an end.
Yeah.
College soccer wasn't going to be a thing. Trying to back on the football scene wasn't going to be a thing. I had a tear in my meniscus. You know, I was getting it drained every so often. And from then on, I was like, you know what? Like, I need a release. I need somewhere to go.
Yeah. You got to put that energy somewhere else.
Oh man, I put it into the University of Sandy Beach.
Yes, you were a rat too.
University of Sandy Beach. I don't think you could have not caught me there from my early 20s to my mid 30s. Every day I had to surf. I mean, I would be at half point before the sun's up, or at chambers if it's firing. So bodyboarding.
I almost wonder if we passed because
I'm sure.
I got into Sandy's to bodyboarding later. Like you said, Sherwoods was always the thing, right? It's a safe place where the family can go. Let the kids go do whatever.
10 and under, 12, 13.
And I didn't get into bodyboarding seriously until like I was 24.
Yeah.
And then after that, I couldn't get enough of Sandy's because I grew up asthmatic.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm never a long distance runner, all this stuff. So hey, if I can catch a wave,
paddles out.
And then steep drop.
Yeah.
And if I get pounded, all I can do is stand up. I don't gotta swim.
I'm not torturing myself.
Yeah, so I just fell in love. Like I'll take lickings, but I just the insane drop.
Yeah.
I couldn't find anywhere else. Like I surfed pipe once, a couple of times. I was like, hey, this not when it was firing, but it wasn't the same as just dropping in Sandy's, you know.
Yeah.
And then I know I'm gonna get closed out, and I know I can close out on the sand sometimes.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yes, Sandy's is definitely life. I think I competed a lot on the local circuits. I ended up trying to use that as a way to travel.
Yeah.
So my forms of traveling really came from bodyboarding, you know, Indo trips, trying to get to Australia, trying to go, you know, California or wherever, just to experience the world. And I did it through bodyboarding.
Nice.
So I was doing that, and I lucked out. I mean, I had guys that I could look up to, and they would mentor me. I mean, I've been around some of the greatest bodyboarders in the world. I mean, got to compete with the best in the world. And lucky for me, I ended up, when I came back home, I finished school, got my degrees and stuff. I kind of was still floating around trying to do things. So I was, you know, working outrigger as a manager and supervisor at the Reef Hotel, and did that for like 6 years, you know. But during that whole time, it was travel and bodyboarding, you know, and life was great.
It's just basically to support all your other passions.
Yes.
So. And so, where did you transition out of bodyboarding? Did something happen?
Yeah, no, it definitely. Bodyboarding was like kind of like that daily level thing, and I think as you get older, you start hitting your 20s, mid 20s, and you're obviously had a great job actually. I mean, everyone knows like I definitely strive for the education side. You know, kept going to school, had a couple degrees, you know, and trying to figure out what really fits best for me. So paddling still kind of wasn't in the picture. I mean, I grew up around it my whole life, you know, as a kid, and why we didn't do it was mostly because a lot of different other sports was interfering with that, and my parents just let us do it. I mean, they took away their own passion of paddling and stuff for us to enjoy our life.
Yeah.
And to me, growing up and being where I'm at now, realizing how much they sacrificed for us to have that fulfillment, and only for this last, give or take, 14 years back into it, you know, have been really what it's been about for paddling for me. But anyway, moving back into that whole transition, I got a really good job with the hotels and things like that. So being able to surf was easy.
Yeah.
I made the schedule fit me. I did all those things. Then got into, you know, a little bit of injuries here and there, the normal, like, you know, pulled shoulders, things like that. But it didn't really change, I think, until I decided, like, I didn't know what I was gonna do, like, professional wise. Mm-hmm. So there came like a period of time where I left the hotel industry because I was actually trying to get into corporate. I thought, I'm gonna go corporate, I'm gonna do the whole, you know, plus 6 figures.
Just the chain of ladder, right?
Yeah, and like I mean, I was a manager already at the time, and I was like, okay, boom, I'm applying. And then I believe that family sold, the Kellys sold the company, and I think just things felt weird at the hotel. It started getting different. It didn't fit, it didn't feel right, you know, and then I think just in life, everyone goes through life and is trying to make things work for them. And just like anybody, you know, everyone's human, and you decide, like, you know what, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I took 2 years off. I ended up going back in to go get my master's in human services. Mm-hmm. And for 2 years, I wanna say, I can't recall the exact dates because it's been probably 10 years from that point, but I applied to everything. Took the ASVAB, was gonna think Air Force, Coast Guard. I was like, I'm gonna be an officer, I don't know. So I went through this like 2-year phase of literally like training for everything. And I was like, I'm not 30 yet, but I'm gonna figure it out, right? I'm not 30 yet, but this is it. It's my do or die moment. Process for HPD, process for the Sheriff's Department, process for FBI, process for everything. I literally went in on everything. Education, you name it. I was just like, okay, and then I did. Well, my really good friends were cracking up, right? They're like, so what are you gonna do, right? Like, what are you gonna do?
Professional student already.
Yeah. I was like, oh, you know, whatever, I gotta do what I gotta do. And I had good support around me, like my parents and everybody's like, okay, you know, like my brother was already in HPD at the time and stuff like that. And yeah, I did think human services was my field of study. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do something along those lines. And I applied for everything, I got into everything. I could have went officer school, I could have did this, could have did that, but I gave it time. And for some reason, things just happen the way they do, and everything does align some way or somehow. Mm-hmm. But long story short, I ended up, during that time, I got back into paddling. So during that little transition of trying to figure out like what I was gonna do, it was the perfect time for my parents to get back in. Yeah. And just so happens, Uncle Christian Marston, you know, big time paddler from Kauai, my dad's Hanai brother, shows up and tells my dad, like, he drops off a bunch of these V1s at the house, and he's like, ooh, all right, I think it's time for you to, like, it's just weird how life happens, right? And he's like, I think it's time, you know, like, he's like telling my father, he's like, hey, David, you gotta, like, this is it. Like, I mean, gotta get back on the water. So we did. I bought my first V1, was given to me. It was one of the heavier ones, and he also gave me a better one as well. And I remember my dad was just like, okay, we're going down, and you know, trying to get back into the paddling world. I mean, I still had my aunties and uncles here at Coyote and stuff, and we were going, you know, my grandpa's race was happening at the time. Yeah. So the memorial races, so we'd always go, and it always, hey, go jump in, and, you know, like, now I'm gonna surf, you know. Yeah. You know? And then eventually you just realize, man, this is really where you get a calling in a sense. And that's when you said, like, how did I get here? Well, it was like, like, what are you doing?
It's kind of a wake-up moment, to see, like, you have...
I have it, yeah.
I'm talking about wealth, right?
Yeah.
That as an asset, you have the family, the support, the structure. All you had to do was just show up, and they're already here.
Plug and play.
And how many people wish they had that kind of family? Yeah. And that it's already built-in community, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think getting back into it was a little challenging for me, only because, you know, coming off of all the other successes that I had in sports, and thinking like, oh man, is this really what? And you just realize, no, this is really what you want to do. And it's actually pushed me into probably the best physical space that I could have been in at the time. And then I think even on the mental space, right? Yeah. Like being able to be okay with the decisions you make over time, whether somebody wanted something else for you or if you wanted it for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the part where we, you know, if you're a young kid and you're like watching this podcast, there is things, right? There's things that like you hear over time, and everybody calls them cliches, right? Like you never really know what you got into, you lose it, or you never know, you know, like all of those types of wordings. But it's true, there is a moment of time where you can actually reflect and be okay with the choices you make. And this one actually was like one. I was like, yeah, I could have pursued the whole. Yeah, I went to school for education. Yeah, we spend a lot of money for education, and my parents went through the ringer to get me and my brother to a private school, and I got a really great education. You know, I went to Iolani School. I mean, not too many people come out of Wamanalo in the back roads and go to Iolani School. You know, and even that was a different side of the world, because I ain't gonna lie, plenty of my friends was living Hoilo Ridge, you know, Kami, like.
I know that all too well, yes.
And it's, I was growing up in Wamanalo's back road, bro. They were like, where is that? Like, in the boondocks, you know, like, I'm in the back roads. But, I was so fortunate, because I got pushed into 3 different worlds, you know, and I got to experience it all, and I lived it all, and it was super cool for me. And then, so pushed into the whole, this is your lifestyle, and this is what. And then, you know, I was kind of happy that it happened that way, because, I found like everything in it, paddling, everything.
If it was pushed on you earlier, you wouldn't have appreciated it and realized all of it. So you came to the conclusion yourself, and that's really what anybody can hope for, because we can't want something for you more than you want it for yourself.
It's what I'm experiencing even now as a coach now, and I see a lot of the youth athletes that we have around us. Paddlers, right? And we want all these things for them, and I'm sure people wanted that for me at that age, whether it's my parents or mentors or people, right? Realizing there's a lot of potential in you.
But you gotta let them go.
You gotta let them learn.
Let them grow.
Let them grow. Let them grow. And that's the truth. And I think for me, I was able to finally say, you know what, like, this is really what I did. But the other thing that helped me make that decision was I applied for all those jobs that I was telling you about. And the Hawaiian Airlines actually calls me right before I actually was gonna sign papers to go to Coast Guard as an officer. And I looked at it and I was like, I think I'm just gonna become a flight attendant.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up.
So I became a flight attendant,
Okay.
So right before COVID, like, end of 2019 and all that, so all that stuff was going on. I ended up becoming a flight attendant with Hawaiian Airlines. And that's what I currently am, a flight attendant. And then 2 years ago, I was on a flight and then suffered a pretty bad turbulence flight and got injured. And so I've been dealing with the injury and returning to work and being on leave and medical. So those things just, happens, and, So in the meantime, my life has revolved all around paddling though for the last 5 years, right? Even though I was a flight attendant, but before that I was paddling one man at Kiayakohoi's Sand Island site with Uncle Gilbert then. My dad was down there, hey, go take the boat, we're going to Sand Island, So my start was right on a V1, my official paddling start. As a kid, I don't count it because I was around it, I did it. But, but when I got serious, that's where it all started, on a V1.
So that's where your passion from the V1 comes.
Yeah, it's the first thing that I ever got on. I mean, I love the ocean, right? And I freaking connected instantly. I've been on OC1s here and there. I mean, I didn't even tell you, I lived on Maui for 5 years and all that during, my 20s, early 20s out of college. And that's when I was competing in bodyboarding in Maui and surfing and all that. And I've been on OC1s and surf skis, fooling around with my friends, right? But really when it all started was when Uncle Christian came and told my dad, like, hey, here's a bunch of boats. They were all a little bit older, some beat up ones, couple new ones. And he's like, here you go.
So did he give you guys those boats just for you as Ohana to learn with, or because?
Nah, the intention was to get my dad back into coaching and like to get back into it, because I think so my dad is a long time, he's been a part of the paddling world. Obviously, he's paddling in my grandma's womb kind of thing, so
he paddled out.
Came out with a paddle, bro. And and it's so for him, he was the only one, like right there on this beach, and you can ask pretty much anybody in Kailua, he was the first one with a one man, basically a 2-piece that he glass together, put it out there, come paddle out to the flats, paddle out to the moke, sit over there, have his sandwich. And he was doing that forever.
Yeah.
You know, and like, so all like my Uncle Kamoa guys and all of them, he would leave the boat up here, so people would just take it. I mean, he grew up on the corner right over there, right before you take the right going to Lanikai Elementary. So that's where his grandmother
Kauhau.
Yeah, Kauhau. Kauhau, sorry.
Kauhau.
Okay. Lanikai. Yeah, no, you know, so just like this, it wasn't anything, right? Just a few houses, the Kalamos right here by Buzz's, the Granbergs on the corner, and a few other names, and I get to hear all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was, and I think the fact that he was in it, and then building canoes was a thing, and I mean, the last real big experience as a kid that I had for canoe stuff was during 9/11, like all the airplanes were all shut down. But we had a project. It was Aloha Festival, and it was when they were finishing the Molokai Hoi. My dad then built a couple Albizia canoes. They rough cut them out on Ka'ava side. They brought them down to Waikiki, right on the beach, and they finished 3 canoes in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Yep. 3 canoes done. Ah man, it was amazing. It's on I think it's on the Aloha Festival week or something, but if you look it up, it's during the same time as 9/11. That was the coolest experience I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then the fact that when we got back into paddling, that's when I got right back into being with my dad and working on the boats and the koas and stuff. And I think once I started it was crazy when they tell you, but when you touch a boat, like there's like this instant, like that's like the part of those things that hard to explain. It's super hard to explain. It's like the first time you ride a bike and you realize you can do it. It's the first time you open up a canoe and you're like, oh my God, this is my canoe. You jump on, you paddle that. But working on a koa canoe, oh man, it's
spiritual.
If it's in your blood, I mean, that thing is gonna grab you.
Nice.
And it's it hasn't left me since, because now all I think about is paddling.
Yeah.
Right. So every day it's like paddling. Don't go to sleep because you're thinking about paddling, or you know, what kind of work are you gonna do with the paddlers, or you gotta clean canoes, or you gotta rig boats, or you gotta trail or something. And you know, if you're a part of the paddling world and you know what I'm talking about, it's a lot of work. So see what my parents do, man, it's insane. Like
it's like a full-time and a half job.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
It's amazing to see my parents do what they do.
Yeah. But it's a lifestyle.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, they love it, you know. I can only imagine they love it, because otherwise you would begrudge having to do all this stuff. If you don't love it, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So you won't do it if you don't love it.
You just talk amongst each other and you just yell at each other.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's a little bit of that, right?
It's fun. It's healthy in a sense. It can be, you know, it can seem like a lot and things, but you're right. You know, you realize like how much you can do for the community, and like, you know, it's just awesome. It's just so cool to be a part of that.
So most recently, so you coach for Kaioni.
Yeah.
What is your coaching position in the canoe club?
So it kind of, for Kaioni Canoe Club, it kind of varies. As of last year, I kind of took over almost the lead of all the open paddlers.
Okay.
So it was able for me to kind of take the open crews and just work with them directly, because we didn't have a lot of membership. And then, so that's what I would do. I would just handle mostly the open paddlers, and then obviously just my own crew or whatever crew I was a part of, whether it's the open 4 or the mix, things like that. That's what I do in the thing. And then I'm also just the vice president of Kaioni Canoe Club.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so where does the rudderless? Yeah,
so rudderless actually, so Kaioni has been around since, you know, the 50s. It's one of the founding canoe clubs within all of Hawaii. Many of clubs have been birthed out of Kaioni, including Kailua Canoe Club, including, you know, New Hope and other ones, various ones. But so Kaioni's been around for a while. When Uncle Christian dropped off those V1s, we were like kind of getting into V1 paddling. My dad was like, "Okay, we just gotta figure out something. Let's start with you guys. Start with my nieces and nephews." My nieces and nephews, man. They were like, I don't know, 8, 9 years old, and now they're 20. You know, like it's kind of crazy. I mean, So that's where I think my growth happened. I've always coached. I've coached my whole life, right? I was calling my own plays at 11 years old as a quarterback. So coaching is just like second nature.
Yeah.
And so I was able to develop, but when they dropped off the V1, there was so much pressure in my own eyes, because it was like I said, I was pretty talented, I think, at a lot of sports, but it was like, okay, now you got to be good.
Yeah, you got to learn.
And you're getting older.
Yeah. Well, then plus too, I would imagine there's a little bit of pressure because of legacy. Yeah?
Oh, for sure. Your name is, like, in a sense, your name is a lot in Hawaii. I don't know why. It's like, to me, it's been a thing for a lot of people, right? Your name carries a big, I would say, responsibility, big emphasis in who you're going to be in the future, you know, and you don't want to let anyone down, but I don't think too much pressure was put on me in a sense. It was like, no, nobody's really doing this. There was not really much people V1ing.
Yeah.
I knew a bunch of the really the talented paddlers, you know, and it was like, okay, you better get good fast at this thing and you better figure it out. But I jumped on it, never flipped, and everybody was saying, like, it's so hard, and I don't know, I was just connected. As soon as I jumped on it, was let's go.
It's just natural.
And then I was able to progress pretty quickly. I had the best coaches ever. I had my parents, and then I had Uncle Christian, and then after a while, it just kind of, every weekend we'd go down to Sand Island. I was doing it. Just me, a couple of my friends, a couple of my brothers. I mean, ex-girlfriends, you know, good friends that I've had from college coming in, checking it out, you know, friends just from wherever. Hey, bro, come check it out. We're in V1 outside. They're like coming down, and then we're like, oh, I think we could like get together, like hui everybody, you know, and then before you know
actually make it a thing, yeah.
I think it wasn't really taking off in a sense, but then we started putting all of our kids on it, and all of a sudden these kids are just, man, like kids have no fear, right?
Yeah.
Get on and go. And that's, Rudderless was kind of created. And it was actually like created in the parking lot at Sand Island. And this is with like my dad, Uncle Christian, Uncle Sai, and I lied. It was, this conception happened at Nico's, Pier 38. They're sitting there, and a shipment came in, I think, of some V1s, and they're sitting down, and yeah, it was at Nico's, Pier 38. And my dad then were talking, they're like, oh, what are we gonna, we need to do something. Yeah. Let's just call it Rudderless.
Yeah.
And then we said, no, we should just abbreviate it, RDRLS kind of thing.
I love it, dude.
Before you know it was Rudderless Hawaii Ball. It was concepted, right? And that's kind of what happened. And from then on, it kind of just started off as like a thing. It wasn't really like a company or anything. It was just Rudderless Hawaii Ball. What are we gonna do with it? And
it's just a hui at that point.
Yeah, at that point, it was just kind of like a club, right?
Yeah.
An offset of Kione, and it was just able to do its separate thing without interfering, and just, you know, off season. So I was training on a V1 before I was like going full time in a 6-man again. So I trained on a V1, and I don't know what it was, but the V1 taught me everything I really, really needed to know about paddling.
So, dude, there is a lot to be said about that, because I was able to come out with you maybe like 2 or 3 times during this V1 season.
Right.
I had already signed up for the off season with Kailua.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, I already paid for registration here, but I wanted to try it out. Just from those 3 sessions with you, and mind you, there's like 30, 40 of you guys, and I'm in the back just figuring it out. But when I jumped into the steersman seat, just from that, I'm gone. I could steer. I could steer the 6-man just from a few sessions of rudderless, and you know, just watching everybody. You can kind of, if you can picture it and you can conceptualize it in your mind,
you can do it.
I can do it.
Yep.
So, and that's how I make the connection with my mind body action. So I know most athletes are that and even more, right?
Right.
So if it wasn't for that, I would have picked it up sooner, but it just allowed me. After that, I was telling Coach Mike, I want to steer.
Yeah.
Because regatta season, I'm not a steersman.
Right. So you might as well get some time.
I'm going to have fun with it now.
Heck yeah.
And so, you know, that was really pivotal. I was like, wow, just learning how to steer paddle makes a big difference, because now you're the only one in control of the boat without a rudder. So you have to steer, paddle, I mean, everything. Whereas in a 6-man, you're only responsible for your seat.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
But we got to stay in tune. But still, it's still an individual sport almost.
Yeah, it is, because you're still in one seat instead of, you know.
And like, each seat has its own responsibility.
Right, and then that's kind of what happened for me. It was like I was put on the V1, and I would say, like, because I was put on the V1, my progression and just my water understanding was already there, right?
Yeah.
As a athlete in the water,
Bodyboarder, surfing, you just understand the water,
surfing, you know, fishing, and even fishing can teach you a lot because it's teaching you current
the
and
tides
winds and everything. And then, so when I got on the V1, I mean, I was given like a lot of it, right? I was given, and it was interesting because I would, like you said, I wouldn't be paddling half the time. I would literally be sitting down and just talking to my parents. And I mean, my parents, I mean, it's as much to say as like, both my parents have been super successful in paddling in general, right? My mom was actually a paddler from Lanikai. My dad was right out of here, Kioni. You know, so both forces on the east side over here. And, you know, in the 70s, paddling had this big growth in the 70s of, okay, like things just got like more emphasis in paddling. But both my parents had found a lot of success, you know, multiple channel crossings. I mean, even like right out of here, right out of Kioni, Uncle John Puakea, right, comes right out of Kioni. My dad's.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, Uncle John like raised me as a kid. Basically, he would watch me too, and me and my brothers. But my parents basically kind of, you know, put him under the wing. And I don't know how many times, how many boats he was doing K1s at my dad's house and things like that, learning from my dad and stuff, and paddled for my dad, him, Uncle Mike, all these, a lot of great paddlers came out of Kioni. And you know, and just in general, the amount of knowledge that my parents could bring to me, I would just sit down and just talk paddling. So you're right, I was given all the tools I needed to become the paddler I am today, and if it wasn't for them, none of that happened.
But it's on you to pick up the tools and learn how to use them,
for
right?
sure. And like, but I was fast tracked it, like bang. 1 year on the V1, I was putting 5 years in the boat, you know, and then, you know, I put 2 years on the V1, I felt like I was putting 7, but my dad always feels that way with a lot of paddlers. If he's been paddling for 60 plus years and he has all this 60 years plus knowledge and he gives that to you in just groups of sessions, just like anything, right? Like a professor teaches a student, before you know it, you know, you're learning chemistry and then all of a sudden you are the chemist, right? It's like the same thing. It's like becoming a coach or becoming a top tier paddler. If you're getting taught by a top tier paddler, as long as you're getting taught in the process that's needed to become it, you can be anything, you know? So that's what happened. And so then Rudderless was formed and created, and before you know it, we decided to use it as the way to say, you know what, we want to make Hawaii paddlers great. We felt like there's been this gap missing, and it was more to do with the education of paddling. I think we were forgetting a little bit more about the cultural side of paddling. A lot of it is too commercialized, and I don't want to come across as somebody who's not downing anything commercial for paddling, because I think advertising and building paddling is great, but there has to be some kind of understanding why people do things they do. It couldn't be out of just money. Like if my dad and my grandpa didn't want to, right? All the boats that they've built over the years in cores, they could have just popped molds off of them and started selling them to all these freaking Tom, Dicks, and Harrys.
Commercialized it,
right? But other people did that. And that's the part that's a little frustrating on the legacy side, because that's not really what the sport was entailed to do. It was more about why we did it as a release of learning and educating and keeping canoe making and building.
Perpetuating the culture of canoe paddling, sailing, and making all of it.
But now there's people making millions off of it, which is fine.
To each their own.
And I'm okay with all of that, because for me, I'm able to do it and travel. And so there's a lot of pluses to it. But for us, we get an opportunity to really educate and say, okay, but it's as simple as coming here. Like you look around, you look at a lot of places. It's the only place that really get an actual grass area, and you got to take care of your place. You got to malama everything.
You're responsible for, this is your house.
Yeah, and you know what? Like my dad says it all the time. Even if it's a jokingly saying, he says it so much that you start believing it. It's like, this is the best oceanfront property you're ever gonna have, and it's free.
Oh my God.
Right?
100%. Right? I don't care where. I can come here
free,
and I feel like I'm home. And we get to use our backyard.
And we are fortunate to have that opportunity, and in order for us to keep it, you gotta take care of it, right? And so those are the things that I think why clubs like ours or Rudderless was formed, and things was to appreciate why we're so fortunate to do what we do, and at the same time, people start really actually believing in what they're able to do, because now they're taking care of not just the responsibility like while you're walking, but now themselves, their boats, everything.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just like a nice.
It's a good like also life lesson structure too. You
For
know.
sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I was around that my whole life, was life lessons.
And yeah, I mean, that's
We all
what
are.
growing up is,
Yeah.
right? It's all life lessons. But some of us are more fortunate, and you know, I was shooting a lot of. I got a 360 camera, right?
Yeah,
For New
yeah.
Year's, or for Christmas. I bought it for myself for Christmas, and I started taking a bunch of videos, and I know you're aware because I started taking videos
Yeah.
of us and,
Yeah, yeah.
and some of the groups. But as I noticed, I'm taking videos in the ocean, and then I got some in the canal. And how many people are fortunate enough to have both bodies of water
Right.
and to play in both?
Yeah.
I mean, we can go canal
Yep.
when it's windy and the conditions are horrible out there.
Yep.
We can just go from here in Chatted Lake all the way through. You're
Yeah.
completely protected. You know what I mean?
Right.
Water quality is not the greatest, but it's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
like having your own little lake.
No, it's great.
And then on days like this, where the conditions are awesome, sun is out shining, we can go into the ocean.
Yeah. Do some runs.
Yeah, and it's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And we can see the sometimes we see the reef too late because
It's like, oh.
but it is just I can't even say how I just reflect on it and I was like, oh my God, this is so beautiful.
Yep.
I'm glad I finally woke up to this and became a part of this community and I got to experience this, and I'm glad my kids are doing it now. And I'm glad to connect with everybody, like, you know, yourself, your family, everybody.
Yeah, thanks. You know, it's crazy for me that I would say over the last, you know, about, I would say give or take now, maybe going on 13 full years of really being back in the paddling world. The amount of relationships that everyone has built with everyone.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is, you know, and I say it just naturally, right? Everyone, there's a lot of rivalry between a lot of clubs.
There's
and
competition,
and
yeah.
we love it. But there's also got to be some point of, man, like, just appreciating the fact that you have that.
Yeah.
Right? Being able to go out there and battle with people and create the relationship, because that's what's happening. But with Rudderless, we were able to bridge everyone across the island.
Because there's, I mean, how many different club members from different clubs do you have in Rudderless?
Probably,
a lot,
yeah, probably about, I would say, give or take, maybe 12 to 14 different clubs,
Club members,
from
yeah.
different clubs, and about 140 rudderless paddlers. So rudderless, and then we bridged it out where we started like creating like satellite groups, just telling people, you're like, no, you're a part of it because you V1, and
Yeah.
and so the V1 community is now just dynamited. It's crazy. So we just got done with Aloha Aito number 6.
Yeah, tell us about that real quick.
Aloha Aito number 6. We're on our 6th annual Aloha Aito. We just finished. We had just a little over 270 or so paddlers, you know, kids, short course, long course. I mean, it's just incredible.
There's paddlers from
All over.
Brazil,
Yep.
Tahiti, New Zealand.
Yep, Canada. I mean, you name it. The U.S., parts of the U.S., whether it's Florida,
That
California.
is phenomenal. I mean, a worldwide
Yep.
showing.
Yeah, and it was a first ever 2-day event. So we had a V1 on day 1 and V6 on day 2, and it's just looking forward to the next one. You know,
Yeah.
With COVID, we were targeting our 10th year would have
Yeah.
been this year. So you know, we've
So there was a 4-year
yeah, because of COVID, we weren't allowed to pull permits. So COVID
for
one
the gatherings. Huh?
Yeah, so anything over 25, and so they canceled all of our permits. And we technically could have held one coming out of COVID, but we decided to wait.
Give everybody some time
like
to acclimate.
some breathing room, and
Yeah.
you know, we were coming off some weird years, you know. But yeah, I mean, other than that, just that's what's happening, you know, in this area of paddling right now.
So what do you envision? What do you hope for Rudderless and V1? I think, well, quickly, personally for myself, I think just because my eyes have more recently been open to the paddling
Yeah.
community and how amazing it is. And so as far as I'm concerned, oh my God, this is the greatest thing since running water.
Love it.
But a lot of people probably have felt like that for so long, right? But
Yeah.
I almost feel like there's a little bit of a revival again. Like
Yeah.
it's been stale for a little bit. We've had a lot of paddlers,
Sure.
but I almost feel like, and this is just me checking the temperature of people that were starting to become great again. Like
Yeah.
you said, paddling becoming great again.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now is a perfect example of what's been happening. I mean, I think Hawaii paddling has definitely started to really like, man, just bring in more people and start to attract and revitalize. But you know, I think a part of our goals for Rudderless was, you know, exposing a lot of our youth to the V1 and trying to get the message out that if you're an older paddler and if you feel it might be the challenge, don't pass that on to the young athlete, because that's not fair to have Euro mindset for somebody that's younger.
It's a generational sin.
No, so let's build them up and, you know, get them to try it. I think a part of our growth has been the testament of some of our novice paddlers and kind of putting them on the boat and watching their progression happen so rapid.
Yeah.
And it's not to say like other training methods didn't work, but this one works for us. And so for us, it was like, okay, our goal is to get as many people on a V1 as possible and just create that revitalization as well as exploring opportunities. I mean, the V1 is the most worldly used vessel right now, compared to like the OC1 per se or something else. Yeah. So you'll find more of this in Tahiti, New
on
Zealand.
an international level.
Yeah, for sure.
I noticed that because, you know, I started paying attention to the international
with the
races.
IVF, right.
Yeah, so the V1 seems to be more of an Olympic vessel.
It is. Yeah. It's the one that's been used widely by everyone.
Yeah.
And so if we're not doing it, then we're falling behind.
Yeah, that's true.
So for us to
keeping up with the world.
Yeah, and for us to be able to do it and have a place to expose this and learn. You know, I think a lot of people just don't know where to go to learn to V1.
And there's not, correct me if I'm wrong, but are there any other V1 programs currently running?
Not so
in Hawaii or on Oahu?
Not necessarily on Oahu. There's definitely clubs that have V1s, but not a program.
Not a part of their program,
right?
Just kind of
just in the club and a purchaser here and there. But there is places. So for us, Rudderless Hawaii Va is exclusively Rudderless Hawaii Va. It's just all V1, or a V6 or a V3.
But aren't you also a nonprofit now? So you're a program.
We are a program. Yeah. So we are a nonprofit. So Rudderless Hawaii Va organization is the nonprofit line, and then we do have a idea of where we want to go with this, which is really to kind of help other clubs. Like if you're looking for V1s, like let's help you. And we're fortunate. We're able to get help from Ade Tahiti. Ade Tahiti like saw, I mean, before we ended up knowing that Ade Tahiti actually had V1s, you know, we were using old beat up ones from Kauai and wherever we could get them and shipments that came in and it wasn't sought after. But with this, they were like, let's help you. I mean, we want to see Hawaii do whatever it needs to do to get back. And I think they really appreciated how much effort we put into our kids. And with that, it was like, hey, we can send a shipment. Like, we'll even try to discount the boats. And, you know, let's create there was only one group of persons that ever said, we can create a payment plan for you. Like, man, anybody that paddles knows boats are expensive.
They are. Everything.
So expensive.
Yeah, it is.
And so it is an expensive sport. That's the hard part, right? It's an expensive sport, but
how do you pass on those create those opportunities and then pass it on, perpetuate it for different generations and groups?
That's what we did, and it's grown to what it is now, and now everybody wants a V1, you know, like, why not? Why not? You know, like, and I mean, if you've been to the Aloha Aito, I mean, man, the feeling there is just, I don't say it because I'm a race director. I say it because, like, man, when I go there, it's like chicken skin. I see, like, everyone coming around. You're like, there's thousands of people there just, like, here, you know, to watch 37 kids race and then to watch 130 people race the short course or watch another 100-something race the long course. It's like, man, it's amazing. Yeah, so I do. I see this thing probably hitting, you know, 400 paddlers, 500 paddlers next year. And I would love to keep it like that because we want people, invite them and experience Hawaii. Like Hawaii, I mean, everyone experiences Hawaii some way. But man, what would it be like to really experience a good weekend of paddling with people from around the world?
100%.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Where can you go where you have literally like the top, out of the top 10, you had like 3 of the top 10 paddlers, individual paddlers here at your race. Like, it's amazing.
And, well, and that speaks volumes of the organization, of the race, of the community, because you got to have that quality in order to attract that quality.
Yeah, true. And I think we had so many great people behind that, you know. Again, just a lot of it is going to be referenced to my parents because, you know, they've created so much good relationships with everyone and always give good feelings to everyone. And there hasn't been a time where my dad will not help somebody or stop and give them the time of day and like tell them his whole life stories, just so people can understand like what it's like to go through some of the things they've gone through to get to the community what it's done today, right? And I give credit to, like, you know, a lot of these past people that are no longer here, because if it wasn't for them, none of this for these kids would happen. None of this for this paddler right now would happen.
Be available,
and that's the hard part for me, to see people pass up the opportunity to witness that. So that's why us also, the Aloha Aito, is great, because we always love to give that, you know, honorary mentions. So like, for example, like Gaylord Wilcox, a big time paddling just enthusiast, and gives back to the community tenfold, right? And just appreciates everyone. Uncle Nappy Napoleon, you know, like, to honor somebody like that, because, man, like, what happens when they're not here? Why? Let's not wait, you know? You know, let's not wait to really give back to all of these people, and it's perfect time.
Amen.
Yeah, so we love it, you know? That's where we're going. We're going to, you know, we're going to, like you said, we're going to make paddling great again in Hawaii, you know? And, I mean, it's amazing. I give plenty props to a lot of these clubs who have really put up for Hawaii, and, I mean, maybe they're not V1ing right away and stuff, but, man, I'm watching plenty of them. I'm watching.
There's a lot of converts, I think, and then just exploring, like, oh, I want to try this now.
Yeah.
I mean, even myself included, right? I'm in the OC6 in off season. I'm like, oh, look at these guys. I want to come play with you guys. Like, you know what I mean? I'll be over there shortly.
Well, that's the benefit too, right? This is all done in the off season.
Yeah.
Right. So it is off season, and that's the one thing that I think we really focused on, was there's no interference with what's going on, and that's the benefit of.
And I think a lot of people are like, what are we gonna do off season anyway, right? It's like, what are the kids gonna do during summer? They gotta give summer fun program, right? So you provided a solution to a lot of people's individual problems, like, and that was my thing too. Like, I didn't race long distance this year,
right?
And I was like, what am I gonna do? Oh my God, I can't paddle. I feel so lost. Like, and then the off-season program, and then your program was like, oh, thank God, I can get back in the water, right? Because I feel like I dry up like a fish if I'm not in the water frequently.
I'm there with you. So like, that's why it's my safe haven to get down here and, you know, like, be here, you know?
Yeah.
So I do think it's the most healthiest thing you can be doing, and you can do it all the way up in, man, the oldest person I had racing was almost 80 years old.
It is a sustainable, lifelong lifestyle.
Right?
Yeah.
It's amazing. And it can be as hard as you want it to be, or as easy as you want. You don't have to, you know, really.
And it's fun in all the different levels.
So great.
Yeah. You know, and as many times as we've talked about talking, I think that's the one thing that we agree upon is how to make this sport even greater than it is. Just the greatness lives inside each of us individually, but as a community, like, seeing my kids getting into it now, oh my God, I can't even say how grateful I am that and I would like to take credit for it, but I can't. I think it was just them being in the community and them being exposed. Even if it wasn't for me paddling, I would love to see more kids get into it, even more adults, because even the mental health aspects of paddling, dude, this is coming out of my divorce and not knowing what the hell to do as a 45-year-old boy. It's really helped me in life. So, I mean, what can it do for somebody who grew up around this, such as yourself, right? You're an example, but like for my kids, for all these other keiki, but even all the other people out there that just, so even if you have, if you're not a marathon runner, I would think like all the time, like, oh, I have asthma, I can't run, this and that, so I'm gonna do stuff. I'm gonna lift heavy weights. That was my thing, lift heavy weights, right? There's no cardio involved.
You're so, like standing right there.
But this, oh my God, this is the first endurance sport that I'm like, oh my God, I actually like focusing. I like putting my head down and just grinding it out. And the only thing I could really compare that to before was like a marathon or something. And that doesn't seem fun for me. But I could picture myself wanting to do the Molokai Hoi and this stuff. And how do I get there now? Like, how do I get over my seasickness? Like, I never wanted to overcome seasickness before. Screw it, I just don't want to go on a boat. Now I'm like, okay, how do I do this? Like,
Yeah.
I actually love this
like
so
you
much.
said, you're just trying to find solutions now to really like create the passion, you know, that work for you, you know.
And I want to do more of this, like we talked about.
Yep.
I think as a sport, it's growing. So, you know, we're in a lot of social media. We pay attention to the
Sure.
world. But even on the long form content, I think there's so much more room for growth. And with the growth will come more awareness and then more growth. So it just,
Right.
I think it'll just compound from there. And for me, this is actually the start, right? Because for a podcast or any type of episode, this is the first long form content
Right.
that I'm shooting on this. So you're really day one for me. Yeah.
No, day one or not. I mean, it's like you said, it's definitely something that I think is gonna only progress and grow.
Yeah.
And the fact that the type of audience that's out there and the exposure that's happening, we do need to. I think there's a lot of people that are not aware of what's happening in the paddling community. There's so much that you can talk about in the paddling community on a bigger level. It's as simple as how it affects us because of the road work they're doing on a turnaround here, or closing off the entire parking lot, and you're like, oh my gosh, we have practice today, can we find parking? Like, it's kind of nuts. And then yet, like you said, there's this extra, like, we need this release, we need to be here, like, and
we'll
we do what we need to do.
Yeah,
right?
we figure it
like,
out.
What?
Like,
We gotta move signs and cones, I guess.
yeah,
You know, but
get here a little bit early, figure it out.
Yeah, save
block
stalls
off some
for
stalls.
friends. You know, you do what you gotta do. But I mean, it's man, it's so healthy. It's one of the healthiest things that you can be a part of. So
yeah, it is. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you'd want to mention?
No, I think some of the things that maybe we haven't mentioned really that I would want other people to hear about is really what it means to keep our traditions like alive, because this sport is rapidly growing, and I that's when I kind of alluded to some of the commercialized things, but we do need to really focus on, especially new paddlers, even someone like yourself, to realize like really where do we come from, because we see a lot of like the unlimiteds, the light boats, and different things that are changing really quickly, but that's where people like myself at my age still can bring the reminder and say like we also have this real traditional side that we can't really just run away from. So we need to, there has to be boundaries like with everything.
And I think, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is one of the main things, like even talking with Rio, I'm like, I have these, Rio knows, I have all these crazy ideas, right? But creating content around paddling is, I think that's one of the more sustainable passions of all of the content, the YouTube, the videos that I do, that I've done, that I want to continue to do. But it's more about the culture. So where did paddling come from? Who started it? Right? All these things. And we can go down that. That is
we're definitely going to go down that on the next one. But
for sure. And but that's really what started me into wanting to talk about this on camera. And find a way to make that happen. Right. My goal, I want to talk to, I want to highlight all the clubs. Like,
you know, it's great that you brought it up. It's like really like going through and saying, who was the first club on the island, right? Then where did it come from there? And, you know, where did they, so it's even like talking to my dad. You know, like you go regatta, you see all the lanes, right? You see all the flags and all that stuff up. Like, who created those, you know? And it's as simple as saying it was like done in my dad's backyard by his cousins, his uncles, and people don't know those stories. Or like the judges stand, they cut down coconut trees right over here, the leaves, and they put them on a judges stand, right? Back in the day, and it was leaves that were put on the stand.
That was their covering.
Yeah, and then the cop, I forget the guy's name, my dad was telling us a story, and my grandpa said it, my uncle said it, but they cut down the thing, and the tree was kind of bowl ahead, right? And then the cop was all mad, or somebody was mad, and you know, and it was because it was on the judges stand, right? And like, pouring lead weights, right? They made the canisters, right? And they were getting the lead from the, like wherever, the machine yards, right? So like my uncles then work at Lockheed, right? And they would get the, you know, the clips and all that stuff and get brass ones and not the, you know? But it's stuff like that. And then cutting the bamboo trees up at Pully and the cop coming over to go arrest them because they was cutting down bamboo for the flags, you know, stuff like that. And people don't hear these stories, you know? And then, yet we enjoy what we get to do, right?
Yeah.
So I think just that in alone is something that we should definitely explore because because even like how they got the specs for the boat, they like took off of certain boats only and didn't include other coil canoes, but how come they only included these?
Yeah.
There's so much that you can dive into.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because I just had another traditional kakauhi, which is for you guys the Hawaiian tattoo tap.
Yeah.
And I was instructed to go through my mo'uku auhau, which is our genealogy, and in order to understand where it came from, and really connect with my past generations of family, I had to dive into that and study that, and that's what reinforced the idea of there's a mo'uku auhau for paddling.
Yeah.
For just paddling.
Oh man, we were just talking about that before I got here, bro.
Yeah. Like, see, so there are only so many storytellers left that we can tap into that have that knowledge. So let's do that now before they're not here anymore.
No, I'm glad you said that because it was as simple as saying like, and a prime example is like Uncle Philip Naone, right? Canoe builder or helper and manufacturing a certain machine and gadgets to use to actually build canoes for a better, without losing too much wood, things like that, like gauges, all kinds of things, right? But things like that where even other builders that are getting older, they're not even going to be here, and then who's going to be passing it on and who's building. But like you said, there is like this genealogy and there is something for you to pass on, but when do you pass it on? You know what I mean?
Well, we got to make sure that we have those archives in order to pass on.
We need them.
Nowadays with the digital world, we can, you know, we
them.
put one episode on YouTube, it lives forever.
Right.
So, okay, and the last thing is, give me 3 things that you're grateful for.
Oh. Oh man. So, they're included, but I'm really grateful for both my parents for all the things that all the sacrifices they made, you know? Just the intensive sacrifices that they've done for not just myself, but my brothers and sisters and man, just everyone around us in the community. Like it could be anybody, but they're like genuine examples of what it is to take care of people, you know? So thankful for that, and I'm grateful for that. I think the next thing that I'm grateful for is probably my dog.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have a mini dachshund, and wow, that dog got me through some of the hardest times of my life, you know? As simple as going through like, my divorce and things like that, but
that's a companion.
like you said, like, I mean, this dog is just everything to me. I call him my son, right? I don't have kids or anything, but that's my son, you know? And
that's your dot son.
Dot son, that's my dot son. That's my son, that one. Yeah.
You can't see Rio laughing behind the camera.
That son is my son.
that son is that one.
No, and then
this is how we end the podcast.
that one. No, and then shoot, I think I'm grateful for honestly poi.
Nice.
Yeah, poi. I mean, and I think I relate to that because one, they call me the poi boy. Like I just love poi.
Really?
But I think poi is interesting, right? Because it's like really where we come from, right?
Yeah.
We talk about the taro, and so when I think about it, I think about all the life lessons I've learned from, whether it's anything to do with the taro. You know, there's so much you can do with the taro.
Yeah.
Just unlimited things, but the values, because it's as much as going into the kitchen and learning to clean, and so the taro teaches you so much. So when I say poi, I think of it as, in order for you to get to the poi, there's a lot of things that you got to put into the
Work
taro.
needs to go into it, yeah.
And then you can enjoy it later. So those are maybe random, but those are the 3 things I'm grateful for.
You know what? That's got to be the best. The poi. I mean, the parents is always great. That's it almost goes without saying, but you need to say it, right?
You have to, because
because there's only so many more times that you get to say it and they get to hear it.
Yeah, 100%.
And the dog, I didn't even picture the dog.
I'm a dachshund.
Yeah. I'm a Toyota guy myself. But I like the poi. I like, and maybe that's not maybe. I know that's one of the reasons why there's a lot of chemistry in our friendship is there's a lot of appreciation for culture and traditions, and I think that's, before we even have spoken so many words, that's already like a connection. So now I know why you thought that Powered by Poi was pretty cool.
That was epic when I saw that.
Okay, so my friends Makaiva and Maikai, Kanui on the Big Island. I showed him the Powered by Poi hat, and so we got to get a couple more of those. Actually, I have the Powered by Poi sticker for you.
Let's go.
So okay, so I'm gonna pass that down.
On the paddle.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to shout out to you guys for that, and mahalo for talking today,
thanks, Rich.
and looking forward to more of this. Like
Yeah,
seriously. I think when we have the awareness and the resources, then there's a kuleana that comes with that. And so you've got so much experience here, and I know you got the energy and the passion. I will have the experience. I've got the energy and the passion, so we're gonna talk more about this.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Thanks, brother.
Right, brother.
Woo.